In search of romance, try moving abroad. Casey Margot has been going on plenty of fun dates ever since she moved to Paris in October 2019. Men frequently approach her with the dramatic antics seen in Disney movies. This one guy was like, "I ran through traffic just to look into your eyes once, and if you don't want to go on a date with me, I can die happy knowing that I just met you," said Miss Margot, a 28-year-old English teacher from Los Angeles. After studying abroad in Paris in 2016, Miss Margot fell in love with the city and its men. She found a gig teaching English in Paris and moved there after she graduated from Sarah Lawrence College in May 2019. Now Miss Margot is living a dream of many American women who are seeking relationships abroad, some of whom cite the toxic dating scene in the United States. Tinder Passport is a subscription service that allows users to match with people in a destination of their choice. Is one of the app's most popular features, with a majority of members using it up to 9 times a month, said Stephanie Danzy, the Senior Vice President of Global Marketing at Tinder. From 2022 to 2023, there was a distinct increase in the number of female members shifting interests to unique locations. There is even a dating show that premiered last month on the cable channel Freeform, Love Trips Paris, where 4 American women moved to an apartment building in Paris filled with eligible French darlings. Although each woman has various levels of dating experience, they are all looking to find a French lover. "I'm in Paris to find my woman," Caroline Renner, 26, said on the season premiere. "I am looking for a fresh start," Jocelyn Aguilera, 26, said. "Paris is, for a lot of people, the epitome of romance," said Susan House, the executive producer of the show. American Women Love Paris. Romanticized images of an American woman in a beret roaming through the streets of Paris, kissing a French partner by the Eiffel Tower. They are enchanting for many. Think Emily in Paris. But there are other reasons people want to date outside the United States. For Ms. Margot, a black woman who attended predominantly white institutions throughout her school years, she felt ignored in the United States, as if she was not an option. She said, "In Paris, she felt seen." As for the women in Love Trip Paris, they were all exhausted with casual dating in the United States. It felt like by going to a different country, suitors are more serious, or there is more intention behind their actions, Ms. House said. It's a sentiment that is shared by many American women who have had disappointing dating experiences in the States and feel that moving to a different country might help them open up to the idea of love again. Alexis Brown, for example, noticed a lack of effort and intention from the men she was dating in Atlanta, where she attended Spelman College. The dating culture in the U.S. is that it's cool and normalized to be indifferent to someone and not really express how you genuinely feel, Ms. Brown, 23, said. When she traveled across Europe for vacation from October 2022 to January 2023, however, the people she dated made it clear that they wanted to spend time with her. Their interests could have been tied to the fact that I was just different from anybody they had ever met before, said Ms. Brown, who works in communication and social media. Regardless, she appreciated making meaningful connections and new encounters. I was just open and interested in meeting different people and having cultural exchanges, she said. Sipi Tabibian, who moved to Madrid at 35 from Austin, Texas, felt similarly. She was excited to meet people in Spain, where she noticed a culture of getting married or having children later in life than in the United States, or not getting married at all. When I walked into the room, I wasn't the oldest person, Mr. Vivian said. I wasn't the only single person. In Austin, dating apps became tiresome for her. I felt like every guy was the same guy, she said. I felt like if I stay there, I'm probably going to be single forever. Being in a new environment made Mr. Bibian very playful in dating. I didn't have the history of dating guys in Spain, she said. I wasn't jaded. Going on dates that was spoken entirely in Spanish was also an enjoyable challenge for Mr. Bibian, who is Iranian and Colombian, but did not grow up speaking Spanish. In 2020, she met her partner, who is Spanish. Now, she is the founder of She Hit Refresh, a community that helps women over the age of 30 move to a different country. For Cindy Sheehan, meeting people outside of her circles in Denver was momentous. She started traveling solo shortly after ending her 30-year marriage in 2016. She found the man she dated in Denver after her divorce to be unadventurous. She said she went on 60 dates in 2017. It was like a comedy show, she said. At the end of 2017, she quit her job and traveled throughout Southeast Asia for leisure, and she started using Tinder. Because they were out there living their life, there was a lot more energy to the dates. Machine 61 said after the people she met while traveling, it wasn't just somebody meeting after their work at the bank on their way home to let out the dog in Denver. So this is like the Eat, Love, and Pray movie with Julia Roberts. Remember when she ran into that man? She was riding a bicycle in Bali. Yeah, in Bali. She ran into him. I think he was driving a Jeep or something, or Land Rover. In 2018, she met her partner of 5 years, Jean-Marie Mas, a 61-year-old professional tandem paraglider from Dordogne, France, in Nepal. You're not tied to your history, said Ms. Sheehan, who now lives in Portugal. You're living more freely. For Frances Liss, it was also important to be around people who are passionate about traveling. Okay. She found dating to be difficult in the United States, but ultimately she crossed paths with her current partner, Samia Williams, after buying a one-way ticket to Thailand. Really, I didn't know you can buy a one-way ticket to Thailand. I know, like Philippines, you need to have a return ticket, even if it's fake. Otherwise, the airline is not going to let you fly. I saw that happen in a video. A guy was in Vietnam going to the Philippines, and he had a one-way ticket, and he had to go buy another ticket. He had to buy a round trip. Yeah, round trip. So they have websites for that, where you can buy like a throwaway ticket. But the Philippines is one of those countries. You can't show up with a one-way ticket and say, oh, I'm just gonna buy another ticket, figure out where I'm going after I get in the Philippines. You can't do that. You gotta show a round trip ticket, whether it's fake or not. So I'm just pointing that out there. Thailand, I've been to Thailand. I don't know about showing up with a one-way ticket. I'm surprised. She had just experienced a breakup in Silver Spring, Maryland, and the move was part of her healing journey, she said. She started a podcast called Chronicles Abroad with her co-host, who had met Miss Williams 40 in Malaysia in 2018. Miss Liss interviewed Miss Williams, the founder of the consultancy, and the two kept in touch. They started dating years later. When you decide to just live your life for yourself, if you actually end up stumbling upon people that match your energy and the same ideals and values, said Miss Liss, a 42-year-old founder of a wellness company. So, it's not just about the country. Can you go to a beautiful city and find love? Or are you bringing your baggage with you? Miss House, the executive producer of Love Trips Paris, said. That was the social experiment of the dating show, after all. You take these four women who have had a lot of issues dating, and now they're in Paris. They have a lot of the same issues, Miss House said. And maybe one of the reasons an American woman can find dates in Paris, because the French women are very difficult women to deal with. So that's probably why. You go to a country, let's say like Spain, for example. If you travel to Spain, it's much easier to date or find a woman in Spain. You can date or meet up for or with or what have you, sit down and have a conversation, than in France with a French woman. They tend to be much more difficult women. So that's probably the reason that they're probably able to find some success with the men over there, because the men are probably fed up with the French woman. I would argue that somebody isn't just looking for love. They might be seeking out something more deep in themselves, said Jess Carbino, a former sociologist for Tinder. The issues we have transcend geographic borders in terms of what is motivating us internally. That is precisely why the focal point for many women moving abroad is to learn more about themselves in a new environment. Dating is just a piece of the bigger picture. Ms. Brown, for example, had underwhelming dating experiences in the United States, but she also wanted to be in a new space. She traveled to 25 cities in 15 countries in 3 months. Now, that's a lot. 15 countries. I felt like it would be hard for me to figure out what I want my life to look like in the same environment that I've always been in, Ms. Brown said. That included learning more about what variable connections look like for her. I really don't know that I've ever been treated better, she said, about one man she dated in Vienna who was equally interested as she was in planning thoughtful dates. If somebody that I met 2 days ago can treat me this well, I should focus on building relationship with people who are intentional and want to do the same. Mr. Bibian said that anyone who's jaded about dating should definitely try dating abroad. It can really feel like you're living in your own rom-com. And while these women take the theatrical romantic encounters with a grain of salt, they serve as a reminder to reject thoughtless advances. Now, you won't catch me accepting a date where a guy is like, let's pre-game in my car, Ms. Brown said, reflecting on a previous encounter she had. That's an immediate block. Well, let's pre-game in my car. First of all, more than likely you aren't going to have a car in Europe. It's too expensive, especially in those countries like France and so forth that has very good public transportation, so that ain't gonna happen. And let me get back to the French woman, because going back in the 90s, when I went to the airport and I met a girl out there when I was much younger, from France, and she gave me a number and I stayed by her place. I went traveling through Europe, seeing different countries, bought a Euro ticket, traveling the train and so forth. And I took her up to Amsterdam one weekend. Okay, so we were up in Amsterdam, and I went my way, she went her way. I said, well, you could go out, explore, because I was there before in Amsterdam, and I wanted to go back and check out some people. But well, of course, by myself, not with her. And for some reason, she didn't show up that night. And morning came, and she still didn't show. And I was wondering, well, what the hell to do. And this was like before you had the internet, before the internet is coming, and you have all these messengers, IM and so forth. So it was before those days. So let me just put that out there. So it's not like now where you have like Facebook. This was before Facebook, before all of that stuff. Now it would be a different story. I would have been able to get in touch with her right away. But anyway, it turns out she did show up just about. We were supposed to check out the hotel, I think by 11 a.m. We had to catch a train back to Paris. And she showed up last minute, and she told me that she met up with some French people and she spent the night out with them. So again, this was before the time, not like now where you have instant messaging and so forth. However, the hotel, we did have the car from the hotel. She knew the hotel she was staying in. She knew the room she was staying in. She could have called the hotel and they could have or leave a message for me even if I wasn't there. Or ring my room or what have you. And I could speak to her. She didn't do any of that. So, very difficult. And then she tells me, some people are coming to meet her at the hotel. Right? A little after 11. That's when I got to check out and take the train back to Paris. So I told her, well, sorry, I'm going to catch that train, and I'm going to be checking out of this hotel. So you can wait in the lobby for your friends. So some of these women in France are very, very difficult. So I think what it is that these American women who go there and they see a different side of how these men look at them or speak to them or what have you, like the woman who said she met the man in Vienna, and even for somebody who speak to you, treat you well, like within 2 days, it's like, wow, this person, in 2 days I only know this person and look how nice they treat me. Well, you know what it is, because some of the women in Europe are very, very independent-minded women, and they probably feel they don't need any man or what have you, or they could just go about their existence like that. Whereas the American woman feel, well, oh wow, things are not great here in America. I really need a man to be around me or be with me. So I think this is what's going on there. So when they get this kind of attention, like the guy in Paris who claimed that he ran through traffic when he saw the American woman, and he just wanted to look in their eyes and so forth, you see. So for an American woman, yeah, of course, that sounds romantic, like a man running through traffic, and even if she doesn't date him, even if she turns him down, at least he will die happy. So that kind of thing, that kind of stuff sounds really romantic. I mean, which woman in America wouldn't want to hear something like that? Whether you think it's BS or not, but most women in America, a man tells them something like that, that carries a lot of weight, or at least is going to make them happy for that moment. But in France, for example, it'd be very hard for a man to come up and tell a French woman something like that. You see? The way they brought up and the way they tend to be independent-minded, you have to really do a lot. It's kind of insurmountable, you see? So my experience there with that French woman, where she just disappeared and stayed out the whole night, and then in the morning, just I think around 11 o'clock she showed up, when I thought maybe she's dead or something, I don't know what happened to her. And then she showed up, oh yeah, I met some French people. So it's like, oh my goodness, this is your first time in Amsterdam, right? You're up in the Netherlands, first time you've been there, and instead of saying, well, you know what, I'm going to meet some people who are like some Dutch people. Yeah, let me see if I can meet some Dutch people and have some Dutch friends. No, instead she went there and she actually was looking around and ran into French people. Yeah, so you left France, a country full with French people, to go up to Amsterdam and the Netherlands to meet more French people. I mean, really, yeah. Where is the logic behind that, huh? Where is the logic behind that?